all these things, we have with us as a keynote speaker, uh, Dr. Dharmendra Pandey. And Dr. Dharmendra Pandey serves as Deputy Director, Quality Management and Benchmarking, and Head QA, Rankings and Ratings at Symbiosis International University, where he shapes institutional excellence across campuses in India and Dubai. His vision for the transformative education combines 2 decades of academic leadership with insights from his corporate experience. As an architect of quality framework in higher education, Dr. Pandey has guided institutions through significant phases of growth and development. His work at Symbiosis International University and previously at Amity University demonstrates his commitment to elevating academic standards and fostering innovation in educational governance. With a PhD in management and Six Sigma certification, Dr. Pandey brings both theoretical depth and practical approach to institutional development. His research contributions in quality management and digital transformation reflects his forward-thinking perspective on the evolving landscape of higher education. Through his leadership role and academic contribution, Dr. Pandey continues to influence the direction of educational quality and institutional excellence in the contemporary academic environment. Welcome, Dr. Pandey, to this conference. Now,
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ram Naresh, for setting the tone of this conference. And I congratulate entire team of Amity Tashkent for this very first international conference and on very contemporary and much needed theme and area, which is technology enabled improvements in especially focusing higher education sector. And also I have seen lots of industry professionals you have invited. So it's good that we will have perspective from industry as well as academia. So thank you so much for inviting me. Also, I thank a very impressive panel of session chairs and learned participants. And I will be discussing in next 10 to 15 minutes one of the critical important topic today, which is about the AI augmented learning and how quality assurance how quality assurance framework would shape up in coming future, and how as a case study at my university, how we have implemented advanced AI systems in university governance, in teaching and learning, in administrative processes. So I will try to throw some light on it. And why I chose this topic, because I oversee quality function of one of the renowned university across the globe, that is Symbiosis International University. And the quality initiatives through my team and through the function of QA, we impact more than 45,000 students across 7 campuses in India and recently opened Symbiosis Dubai. So I have first-hand experience end-to-end implementation, evolving and bringing it to maturity, all the QA functions. So we are at an intersection of cutting-edge AI and the higher education. So because of this intersection, we are having tremendous opportunity, but also significant challenges we would face in future. So my presentation would be focusing on how to address those challenges and how to bring under quality frameworks all the possible processes of university with some implementation plan as well. And I will also share some experiences from my profile, which I have handled for last 20 years. So thank you so much once again. And Dr. Naresh has already briefed about me in detail, so I will not repeat those. But yes, it's a very important function which you call QA accreditations ranking, because I consider it as a driving seat of a car, which is responsible to give direction, not only compliances or alignment with the current practices, best practices, but also give direction to the university. So my presentation outline is we will begin by examining the current state of AI. What is the current state in terms of implementation? Different regional comparisons we will make. What are the challenges with reference to quality through this AI augmented learning? What are the best QA framework components we can have, what are the economic impact parameters, what are the global benchmarks, and also I will give some Indian context to give you a point of reference. And then last but not the least, what would be the future direction and policy recommendation through our entire discussion. So let's dive into the presentation in detail. So why AI augmentation? When we see the impact of AI on education, it's not replacement like we talk in industry people now debating that will it replace the middle level expertise we are having. So mostly automated processes, AI will replace that. But in education, that's not true. It's augmentation. It will augment. It will complement. It will support. So you can 2-3 years back we were talking about AI and we thought we were skeptic about its acceptance. So today, if you talk about after 2.5 or 3 years, we realize that students have embraced, learners have embraced, faculties have embraced, and industries have already embraced long back. So you cannot ignore it. So what's the solution? So embrace it with caution. So let's have a look at what is the current state. So if you look at the scale of implementation, so almost 79% of the HEIs have already implemented or implementing, right? So, and year on year, almost 28 to 30% annual growth we are expecting, and it might increase once the adoption increases, once the mass scale implementation increases, you will see more numbers coming in. So you cannot ignore. And application diversity. So university is now realizing that why we should be behind, because we are the human resource producing entity. So if our human resource is not equipped with the right skills, so we are not justifying our role in the society. So application diversity through AI is enormous. So not only administrative efficiency we can increase, but also great impact on the personalized learning. So what are the paradigm shift in parameters we are realizing? So one is we are moving from standardized to personalized learning path, learning trajectories. And what's truly revolutionary, if you see here, is the educational methodologies. So we are moving from periodic to continuous assessments frameworks, from static to adaptive curriculums structures. So I would say it's not just a technological adoption. So AI, we should not take it as a just adoption, but actually it is fundamental reconceptualization. So we have to think in that way for implementing. For example, if you look at Symbiosis, when we implemented AI systems in our admission processes, what we achieved and why we implemented it, the demand ratio in Symbiosis is one of the highest in India. So for each application, each sanction seat, we receive almost 300 plus applications. So on an average, every year we receive 3 lakh plus applications. So it's a rejection procedure at Symbiosis, not selection procedure. So when you have to screen so many applications, so you need AI. So we implemented AI in the admission process, and also we implemented AI in end-to-end student support. So based on these two implementation in student engagement as well as admission process, we achieved enormous efficiency in terms of admission, in terms of inquiries handling. So this is how one example I'm telling you. It's not a technological adoption, but how you imbibe in your all functions, in your educational quality, in your administrative processes. So fundamental reconceptualization is important. Now, next, if you look at the current state, so most of the universities, this is as per UNESCO report, administrative applications, most of the adoption rate is there. So we are automating admissions, we are predicting enrollment management, we are doing resource allocation optimization, we are utilizing AI in LMSs. So because of giving personalized learning, engagement analytics, and adaptive content delivery, and especially in online and digital learning platforms, and the university is especially providing digital and online learnings, they have implemented LMS in a more advanced mode because that is much required there in addition to the classroom teaching. So assessment systems, the third one, the 41% approximate adoption rate, still slow, but I would say considering last 3-4 years trajectory, yes, it's encouraging. So automated evaluation mechanism, performance pattern recognition, competency verification protocols. Also, universities have realized that research is one domain where it's an interdependent function through teaching and research. So knowledge creation, knowledge dissemination, AI should be contributing to research applications. So it has escalated the data analysis and also research pattern identification, collaborative filtering systems. So in our university, for example, we have dedicated function called Symbiosis Center for Research and Innovation. So we use advanced AI systems to find the patterns of collaborations, which are the areas where we can accelerate the growth. Obviously, we are using external databases from Cyber, and also from all these integrated systems, we are using the research applications through AI integration. So like us, there are many universities globally are using it. So these are few implementation. Now, next is, what are the challenges in augmenting AI in teaching, learning, and other functions? So broadly, you can categorize into 5 categories of challenges. And the key concern, one is algorithmic bias, because sometimes these AIs through APIs or through their Gen I's integration, they're black box, kind of black box, and the algorithm they use, they might be biased. Recently, if you see the models like DeepSeek R1, it's a Chinese biased output it shows. Other AIs, so more and more models are coming in. This is a challenge for universities to select which AI. So some universities are preferring in-house AI modified versions, but every university has invariably, variably different capacities to implement. So anyhow, if you are using API, so algorithmic bias would be a challenge. So how you will reinforce the educational inequities, transparency deficit, like closed models, if you are using, it's a challenge. Data privacy, I think in a student point of view, students are more concerned about this, how my data will be used. So you need to have student data protection frameworks, the most important concern in learners' point of view, your educational validity. So how you are efficiently correlating with the learning outcomes through AI. So accreditation alignment, because currently, if you look at all the accreditation ranking agencies across the globe, the adoption of AI related parameters is not more than 10%. Now QS is coming up with an AI competency framework, TH is also coming up with it, but actually the current state is none of these frameworks are comprehensively, holistically capturing the AI related parameters. So compliance is the issue. So we need a comprehensive QA framework who captures address all these structural challenges or address these key concerns through their parameters and metrics. So overall, the most important challenge out of all these, I would say personally, which from our implementation challenges, is pedagogical alignment deficiencies. And because administrative implementation, somehow we can achieve it, but learning outcomes, correlations, and pedagogical, we should be very careful because they can be biased and inequities can be developed. Next. So if you look at the current alignments as example, as a reference point, if you take, so we have all these prominent ranking agencies, accreditation agencies, few of them. There are many. ARW is there. So I have not taken all of them for limited space and time. So if you look at THE, World Impact, US World, NRF, AACSB, ABET, all these international ranking agencies in India point of view, if you see. So how AI integration would be reflected, very limited. So in THE, for example, you can capture through research only. In THE Impact, in certain SDGs. In QS World, through academic reputation, right? How many AI expertise you have in your network. QS World University, employer reputation. How many employer valuation of AI skills in your graduates. These are the limited scope where you can capture the AI integration, but very, very limited as of now. So what we need. So I propose through the experience, these are the 4 important QA framework elements. So first, we need to have AI system validation protocol. So what it means. So as I told you in the challenges, we need to first address that. So we should ensure in the parameters of the QA framework, how algorithmic fairness in your verification metrics, how efficient your learning outcome correlation coefficients are, how edge case performance evaluation criteria is. In your next is your governance. So your governance architecture to handle the AI systems, how efficiently you protect the student data, usage limitation parameters, your consent management system, very important. Like in marketing, we teach permission marketing. So without consent, you cannot do anything because you are dealing with student data in public domain or your closed systems as well. But anyhow, you are using the data. So data is the fuel for AI systems. So you should have an efficient consent management system that should be captured through QA frameworks. Your retention policy specifications. So nowadays, people are more, learners are more concerned about how my data would be retained. For how long will it be used for training purposes? So university level also, these a QA framework as a QA professional, I need to capture it. How universities, how higher education institutions are having what retention policy as part of their governance structure. Third, which I would say most critical framework component is the pedagogical alignment mechanism. So how your learning theory compatibility assessment. So you cannot ignore the traditional method. So how AI augmentation is aligned with the compatibility assessment with the traditional teaching. Educational objective mapping protocol transparently. Your curriculum integration frameworks, updations frameworks, stakeholder engagement system, how faculty development specifications are being captured, how you are evaluating the student readiness, administrative capacity metrics. So all these four, there are many more. This list is not exhaustive, but broadly, you can have these four category of QA parameters. You can put all the different metrics in all of these four 2x2 metrics. Next. If you look at how to implement this four quadrant QA framework, so first most important thing is the technical infrastructure. You should have cloud architecture, API integration, security protocols. These are minimum implementation parameters. And your assessment metrics in QA framework would be how reliable your system is, how integrity issues you are handling, what are data integrity verification protocols you have implemented, and who are the responsible entities in HEI domain, IT governance people, external validators you need to validate your system reliability. Your governance structure is important framework component. So how oversight committees are formed, what are the policy frameworks, what are the reporting mechanisms, your policy compliance rates, incident response times, because more and more implementation happens, more and more incident reporting will happen. So how efficient your incident reporting times are. So responsible is institutional leadership, your QA function. In educational design, your learning objective alignment, your pedagogical integration, your assessment validity, right? So for international mobility, especially, so for that, your assessment validity should be validated by expert groups, external validation agencies. So all of these QA framework, if anyone implements it, assessment validity is one of the critical components we have to look at. Learning outcome achievements, student progression metrics would be the assessment metrics for this particular parameter. So your academic department, your instructors, faculties, all these are responsible entities. Your stakeholder capacity building. So if you look at all these four framework components, if you are good at one, cannot guarantee success. All these four are interdependent, right? So and because if you have a very good technical infrastructure, but if you don't have stakeholder capacity, it will fail. And similarly, if you have good governance structure and lagged by technological infrastructure, that will fail. So all are interconnected and interdependent, right? So actually, you need all three, all of them with proper implementation. So holistic approach overall is essential for its sustainable implementation. Next. So again, we need a reference point to look at the economic impact parameters. So as a reference point, I was searching for, is there any report which talks about what can be the possible investment and return on investment in terms of if you implement the QA frameworks. So I found a very good report, which I have quoted as a source in this slide. And if you look at the McKinsey report says that you need most of the investment, mostly in the infrastructure development. And the ROI time frame range from 2 to 4 years to 2 to 5 years, right? And that is the most resource intensive requirement. And if you implement it successfully, then you can increase your operational efficiency by 23 to 38% in your administrative cost, your retention improvement will grow by 15 to 27. Of course, you cannot guarantee there would be variability in the return, but as a reference point, I tried however, despite the resource intensive investment, the economic benefits, if you see, are substantial. So these metrics, what they do, they are translating into financial returns through reduced administrative cost, improved resource utilization, and all these, if you look at they justify the initial investment. So you can take it as a reference point. Next, I hope I'm not overshooting the time, Dr. Ram.
No, sir, you can continue, please.
Yeah. So one more slide I have added as a global benchmark comparison for QA framework. If you look at this World Economic Forum report, so if you look at the maturity index, because I'm a data driven professional, so I need a reference point where we are regionally if you have to compare. So if you are in Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all these are leading it, but still on global platform, if you see, still 38 out of 100. So North America and Western Europe have high maturity index as of now. They have at an advanced QA framework development, and sub-Saharan African region and South Asia still need to catch up. I will give you some Indian context as well, where we are and through what initiatives we have tried to address AI augmentation in QA framework. So what are the implementation success factors? I have included some points from this report, and that might help you that what should be done if you want to implement any QA framework at your HAI. So strong infrastructure, private investment, research capacity is the most important success factor in North American HAIs. Right. So policy framework. I already highlighted all these framework components and what factors out of it leads to success. Next, if you see Indian context, we have Government of India, Ministry of Education, and AICT, UGC, all these agency integrated approach they have followed. In national education policy, we have AI integration directives. NAC is coming up with a revised accreditation framework where we can see some technology parameters likely to come next month in March as one nation, one data, or one platform for one truth. We have to see what it includes, but we can see because it will be based on 10 standards and technology parameter would be there. I hope so. AICT has AI curriculum framework, which introduced in 2023. They have a very detailed implementation guidelines. We have some notable implementation initiatives also. So IIT's Advanced AI Education Consortium, Digital University Alliances, Swayam, a platform. We have an AI-enabled quality metrics for different courses. National Digital University. So we have AI QA framework development. So mostly if you look at the implementation status, so mostly tier 1 institutions have implemented advanced AI. Symbiosis is one of them, I would say. It's a leading university who embraced technology way ahead than any other university. I can proudly say this. But mostly in teaching learning process, we are way ahead than other universities. Tier 3 are struggling for initial implementation where handholding is required. Now, if you look at the future direction, so QA framework we discussed what is the current status, regional comparison. So what is the future direction in this QA framework and AI augmented learning, teaching learning? So if you look at, so the direction would be the AI integration at HAI would be explainable. So when we say explainable, so transparency would be one of the important parameters in QA framework. So you should be able to demonstrate transparency enhancement protocols. Your decision pathway visualization should be very clear. Interpretability framework development, your federated learning applications. So privacy preserving collaborative models will be important. Your cross-institutional quality verification would be there as in future. So as we evolve, as new technologies will come in, this might be the direction of QA framework. We may have distributed training frameworks at HAI levels. Quantum computing is another important domain. Currently, universities think that, oh, it's high cost investment, investment intensive thing. So how we go ahead? Now, you can have resource sharing models now. So as a university, as a HAI, you can subscribe to resource sharing through the infrastructure resources from government. So it's easy now today. Now, in next 1-2 years, quantum computing implementation applications at higher education institution would be reality. So what would be the direction out of it? So we will have complex pattern recognition acceleration, predictive model enhancement, multidimensional quality assessment. So are we prepared for it? At present, no. So what need to be done? So we should adapt, and evolve and polish our QA frameworks. So this is what I proposed. So out of all these discussions, one can be the possible policy recommendations. These are just recommendations, and this list is not exhaustive. So at institutional level, at national level, and regional level. So at institutional level, policy recommendation would be you should be able to establish dedicated AI governance structure as soon as possible. Develop comprehensive data policy frameworks and ethical guidelines. Staged adoption strategies with continuous evaluation. If you have not started, you are way behind. So any HEIs, if tier 2, tier 3, have to speed up. And those who are pioneer and leaders have to sustainable evolution is required from them. At national level, AI QA certification framework would be required as a policy recommendation. Regulatory guidelines for educational AI applications, very important. We have to bring in creative incentive structures for quality focused AI implementation. So regulatory bodies, governance structure requires to incentivize the innovation which you bring in through focused AI implementation, through advanced AI implementation. Fund research initiatives for context-specific implementation models. Regional level, cross-border quality standards, because now students, they prefer international mobility. And now, if you talk about India, we are promoting international campuses to open their campuses in India. So international mobility would increase definitely. They also want to maintain that same quality from their host country. So regional level, Indian HEIs or Central Asia institutions applies to both cross-border quality standards for AI education, shared resources repositories, collaborative research networks, mutual recognition frameworks, some of them. So if you want to start now, what would be the ideal implementation roadmap? So first step should be for any HEI, institutional readiness assessment. Are you ready? Are the all four components? What is your readiness for it? Your stakeholder engagement, capacity building, initial policy framework, pilot implementation. As a Symbiosis, I would say, I can proudly say, we have already implemented all these things at our institutional level. And now we have moved to long-term actions. So we have a holistic 2035 AI transition plan in place. So we are way ahead and we are way on track on this. So you can also devise your implementation roadmap as a QA framework, which we discussed. And so what is the key takeaways from this discussion for the last 10, 15 minutes? So AI in education requires structured QA framework to ensure your validity of offerings, your quality of the graduates, your ethical implementation. So successful QA frameworks address technical, pedagogical, governance, and stakeholder dimensions simultaneously. You cannot take one by one. So simultaneously, holistic approach is required. Your effectiveness of the implementation depends on phased approaches and continuous evaluation mechanism. Economic benefits will materialize after 3-4 years down the line, not less than that, and high intensive, resource intensive investment. Regional collaboration required, context specific adaptation remains essential. And if you look at the conclusion, what is the path forward? AI augmented learning represents, it's a fund, again, I'm repeating this step, it's a reconceptualization. It's not just technological adoption. So it's a fundamental transformation, right? So systematic implementation, collaborative, economic benefits further. So all these things we have already discussed. So overall, you cannot ignore it, embrace it. So QA framework is we are taking baby steps, but more aggressive approach is required. So I am proposing 4-quadrant QA framework in 4 dimensions. So I hope you found it helpful, and I hope I have added some value out of my presentation. So questions are most welcome, suggestions are most welcome. And thank you so much once again, Amity Tashkent team for inviting me. And all the best for coming sessions. I hope we will have more productive sessions through able chair persons for each session. And we would be able to develop a white paper in form of policy recommendation out of this first international conference. So all the best to all the team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful presentation, and I hope it will be helpful for the policymakers who are present here as session chairs and as well as to the students also. So now I will call for the participant to ask questions if they have any questions. Any questions?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Dr. Dharmendra Pandey. Am I pronouncing correctly?
Yeah, you have pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this valuable information with us.
Your voice is
And my
going.
question is like in general related to artificial intelligence. As we know that artificial intelligence now becoming kind of popular in the world, and it's kind of automating a lot of processes, right? So as you know that because of artificial intelligence, a lot of people are actually losing their jobs, right? So, and as a result, a lot of people are actually jobless nowadays, and this kind of rate is growing rapidly. And as you know that in the world, population is already over 8 billion people, right? So and on a yearly basis, like population is growing, and the jobless this rate is also growing. And what do you think, like in the future, as an industry expert, you can say like about what kind of consequences will wait for people who will be jobless. For example, if they're jobless, how they can kind of have money to kind of just for daily expenses, like for food and etc. How they can actually survive. People who are jobless. That was my question actually.
Thank you, Slombek, if I pronounce it correctly, your name, Slombek, right?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, I think it's a very good question you asked, and thank you for asking this because it's a very relevant question for economies like India, which is developing, not developed. And yes, you are right that AI will impact jobs for sure, and it will greatly impact countries like India where the skill set gap is more. So that's the intent of my presentation is because as a higher educational institution, it's our duty for the society to adapt as quickly as possible to understand the possible skill set gaps which might arise in future because of AI augmentation, AI implementation in the industry and any other areas. So how to bridge that gap and how HEIs can play a role, that's the intent. So quality frameworks which I propose is to address that challenge. So yes, you are right that the jobs will go, but which jobs will go? I have an opinion on this. All the middle level jobs which can be automated. For example, 4 years back, if you ask me, I'm a non-technical person, I don't know programming at all, right? And if you ask me a single code in Python or in Java script, I was not aware at all. Now, after 3.5 years, after the advent of AI, I am able to create complete source code of entire new application without even knowing or writing a single code. So I am a software developer now without any software development knowledge. So AI has augmented to my expertise. So to whom it will affect? It will affect the software developer who had mediocre knowledge, who has not equipped himself with the advanced AI knowledge to create something creative, innovative, right? So the innovation threshold has increased because of AI. So if you are a mediocre, your job will be replaced. So universities have responsibility to equip graduates not only basic AI skills, but to use that AI as an augmentation tool to be expert and add value to the organization processes. So in future, this gap will increase, unfortunately, in countries like India, where we produce more than millions graduates from some mediocre engineering college. So except elite engineering colleges like IITs and other engineering institutions. So those are in mediocre engineering colleges, their employability will be question mark. So QA framework, which I propose today, will address those gaps. So if we have that good framework in place, we can ensure that the graduates we are producing is equipped with that value and they can contribute in the industry. So your concern is correct. Jobs will be gone. It will replace to some autonomous, automated, and mediocre jobs. So you have to decide. So there will be a gap, no doubt. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And another question is from industry experts. Like I've heard that, for example, a lot of, as we've mentioned about that, a lot of people actually become jobless. And as a result, what government will take this kind of responsibility that they kind of allocate some amount of money just to survive, like, because like how they can actually earn, right? So what do you think about this opinion?
Again, if government don't take proactive approach, and the PPP models will come in. Because government cannot, because we have in India, for example, we have GR target of 50% by 2030, right? So we cannot accommodate all the graduates. So that's why we are inviting foreign universities. We are opening new universities to achieve that target. But achieving 50% gross enrollment ratio is not sufficient. Are these graduates are equally equipped or not for industry's requirements? So yes, there will be some large set of graduates who might not be fit for the industry. So what will happen to them? Unfortunately, if we don't address skill set gap today, exchequer money will go into in the subsidies and to bring them minimum employment subsidies. Unfortunately, that I can say. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
So do we have any other question? Anastasia?
Yes, I have some question related to, first of all, thank you for your presentation. It was really valuable information related to AI integration inside each HEI. And I have a question related to what are the ethical concerns about AI assessment and evaluation of students, like how AI can evaluate some students and gradings in the future, and will it have some concerns or consequences in the future?
Anastasia, right? I want to pronounce your name correctly. Is it correct, Anastasia? Okay, so thank you. Okay, thank you for asking this. Again, very good question that you asked. Ethical concern about the assessments, and because outcome-based learning is dependent on your input, process, and output of your learning trajectory. And when you implement AI, then the challenge is you should give confidence to students that the AI system, which is calculating and delivering your outcome, is transparent, is equitable, and it is assessing you without any bias. So in my framework, the most critical thing I highlighted is to address the black box nature of the AI. And one of the important element of being black box nature of the AI is student need to know ethically. You should transparently tell the students that this is the formula, this is the algorithm, which is not biased to your assessment. So in of the quality assurance framework which I propose, one of the important parameter which we have to be there is the degree of ethical implementation of the AI systems in place, especially for learning outcomes. So yes, you are right that ethical concern will emerge as more and more advanced AI systems will come. So higher education institutions has the responsibility to be transparent in their approach, that what algorithm they have put in place to calculate your outcomes.
Yes, that's the reason how we can correctly identify that AI can evaluate in some spheres, as you said, transparent evaluation.
Only one way. We cannot be like Google
spheres.
that we have their algorithm as a black box or search algorithm. It cannot work in higher education institution. Our algorithm will be open source and publicly available to the students. That's the only way.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I think, do we have any other questions from any of the participants? Okay, I think no more questions. So thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful presentation. And I think students they have the curious mind how to deal with this AI and how to integrate ethically in their education and writing programs, etc. So again, thank you very much for this this presentation.